were doing the EntreLeadership Summit a few months ago. Our film crew, if you want to call them that, our video team, went around talking to small business folks and gave them the opportunity to drop a couple of questions by video into this show. Here's one of them.
Arlen Campbell. I'm from Southwest Missouri, Joplin, Monette, technically. Our business is Steel Tech Building Systems.
And what's your top line revenue?
We are about $35 million. How do you overcome the disappointment that comes with trusting people that you really put in places and then they just disappoint you? I don't know that you ever completely overcome it, but I would love Dave's thoughts on that.
Wow. I think there's a rule that the ones that are closest to you in your personal life or in your business life, either one, they have the ability to put the knife in deeper. Like I got a piece of hate mail the other day from a guy in some tiny little town in Alabama that I have never met. And so I don't have to overcome any emotions about that because I didn't have any emotions over that. I don't give a rip, okay? Because he's not close enough to me to stick me, you know what I'm saying? And bless his heart, but I mean, we get hate mail all the time. We bail it around here, use it for kindling. But the point of that is, I got a email from a preacher that had 35 people in his church, and he's mad because we used the wrong version of Scripture to suit him. We should use the King James Version because that's the one Jesus wrote, apparently. Have you ever looked up and actually studied who King James was, by the way? But anyway, so we're going to hell because we're using the wrong type of Bible. How much I care about that is about zero, okay? So, but the ones that can hurt you, Arlen, are the ones that are close, and they're the ones that you've counted on and the more you've leaned on. And so, obviously, I mean, in most of our lives, that'd be our spouse. They're the closest to you. How do you recover from the betrayal of that? People do, but it's an emotional, psychological, spiritual recovery when someone that's that close to you. Et tu, Brute, right? I mean, you get knifed in the back by your best bud, and so and I think the ones to be transparent over the 30 years of doing this that have that I still have not an open wound but a real wound from are the ones that not that let me down in the sense of they couldn't do something. Because there's always something all of us can't do, or we can't do it the first try, and it's harder for some people to do a certain thing than other people, and that kind of thing. Somebody that lets you down on performance, that one doesn't hurt. But someone that deceives you and lies to you and then does damage to what you're trying to accomplish, those are the ones that hurt. And I don't know if I have a good formula for that because truthfully, I'll just be very authentic or transparent here. I always blame myself because I was so stupid I let them do it. How do you let somebody deceive you at that level? I always feel like I did, like I was inept because how did I miss that this guy or this gal is a complete freaking psychopath? How did I miss that? I thought I was somewhat intelligent, but apparently I'm dumber than a rock. How did I miss that? So I start almost shaming myself out of it, and that makes it worse, Arlen. So that's not helping your question at all, but that's the truth. So, and sometimes around here when we go, we had to fire somebody for misbehaving and doing so-and-so and so-and-so, and I'm like, that's bad. It's good that we caught it and we didn't allow the misbehavior to happen inside. But what's really bad is we hired them. So where was the screw up in the recruiting that we let the person in here in the first place that would do something like that? And so that's self-blame again for something where someone else acted out, but we exposed ourselves to it because our recruiting process let them through the net. So, golly. Yeah, the worst thing, I got horrible employees. Well, you hired them, dummy. I mean, that's the whole thing. And so, worse than that, you kept them. So it's a me problem in that sense. But you can't completely take ownership when someone's just a complete deceiver. I'll just be nice. But that's about as nice as I can be. But so yeah, I think it's human nature, and it's wise to say out loud that the people closest to you and the ones you have counted on the most that deceive and betray hurt the most. If I've got 1,100 team members, and if somebody's been here 3 months, I might not know them today. That's not unusual. Now, I guarantee you their leadership team knows them and that kind of stuff. But if they said something horrible about Dave Ramsey and went running out the door with their hair on fire or whatever, I can live with that a lot easier than I can live with somebody who's been here 25 years or 20 years, and I've worked with them on a bazillion projects. I know their kids. I know their dog's name. I know their mom and dad. I know I know everything about. And then they go do something. That's a lot harder. That's the reality of it, and that's the difference again in small business and corporate America. Corporate America won't let you get that close, but you can't get a dagger to someone unless they're in a hug. And so you got to be hugging them. And you can't call, the other thing is the last part of this rant or answer on this question is I'm fumbling around. I don't know if I got a good answer because I've experienced it too, like every one of us have. But the rule I always look at is I go, okay, if they're far away from me, why am I letting this bother me? Because it's ridiculous. That's dumb. If they're close to me, how did I miss the clues that said that this person was off? And then it's just life that some people are just misbehaving psychopaths. I mean, they're just that, and you can't go. It's just what it is. And then the last part of it is then you have to make as an act of your will of emotional, mental health, wellness. You have to say, you don't get free rent in my head. You're evicted. You don't live here anymore. You don't live in my head. Now, you may have to evict them several times because they may pop in there while you're having your morning coffee again. And you may have to go, wait a minute, you're evicted. I told you were leaving. You can't live there rent-free. And, I've had situations personally where it's taken a while to get that eviction to stick and emotionally and mentally clear the memory of this whole thing, or the constant processing of something you can do nothing about. Well, I could have said and I should have done, and y'all know how we do that. But that's dumb. You just can't don't spend all your calories on that. Spend your calories on the future, on the good stuff, on helping the good people. And I have to remind myself of that. It's an intellectual act of your will to be emotionally mature enough to say you don't live here rent-free. I'm going to take the portion of this that's on me, and I'm going to move on with that scar, and I'm going to learn from it. The rest of it's on you. You're a dadgum fool because you shouldn't have done that. You'd have been rich if you'd have stayed in this position, and you'd have had a wonderful life, but you screwed up. And you just move on. But the closer they are to you, the harder it is. That's rule number one. And the deeper the pain is. Rule number two is be emotionally mature enough to evict them repeatedly until they leave your head. Don't live there rent-free anymore. And then rule number three is just because somebody made fun of you, don't stop dancing. Still dance. Still turn the music up loud and make a fool of yourself on the dance floor. Still dance. Still go do it. Go do it again. Don't quit taking a chance on people just because you got a bad one occasionally. There's good ones too. Don't quit taking a chance on people. Still be on the dance floor. Still be doing it. Go back, go back, go back. And then count your blessings because you got a lot of good ones around you that aren't jerks. And then you move on from there. That's all I can do. I don't know. That's a combination of spiritual and forgiveness advice. You're forgiving yourself. You're forgiving them because you're releasing them from their ability to live in your head. And that's what forgiveness does. I don't hold grudges against the people. But that doesn't mean I'm also going to hang out with them. You steal my wallet, I'll forgive you for stealing my wallet, but I'm not going to leave my wallet near you again. You're a thief. That's forgiveness. There's a difference between forgiveness and reconciliation. I can forgive you and have no desire to be reconciled with you. So that's the whole process that you work through with these people. And but it is part of taking the chance of love, is that your heart will break. If you don't love, your heart won't break. And then you're just corporate America. We've talked about that today a lot, seems like. But you don't want to be them. You want to have a soul. But it's part. You can't break your heart if you don't put your heart out there. Put it out there again. Put it out there again. Do it again. Do it again. It's worth it. This is the EntreLeadership Podcast.